We're inside doing another knife review for you guys today because we've got a snowstorm going on outside and Leo's belly isn't doing too well today. So we decided we'd do one of these for you. I've got a couple knives on the table, or tools. I've got Leo's hatchet here. I've got a cold steel Gurkha Kukri Plus. And the knife that we're going to focus on today is the Busse Combat Nuclear Meltdown Fusion Battle Mistress, this thing's called. And this big hunk of steel I bought, I don't know, a few years ago. It's a collector piece, so I've never used it for anything. I basically just put it in the collection because it's worth quite a bit of money. Busse Combat runs production runs, and they put out a couple different knife models that they'll put in production for a few months at a time, and then that's your opportunity to get it. It may never come back after that, or it may be years before they run that production knife again. And so they're fairly rare and they're fairly expensive blades to go and buy. And anyways, just to give you a little descriptor of this, this is at least a good 1/4 of an inch thick on the spine, so a really hefty blade. I'm not exactly sure the length, but I'll compare it here to the Gurkha Kukri Plus, and they're fairly comparable in length. This is made out of basically indestructible Infi steel. Infi steel is a proprietary steel by Busse Knives, and it's used in, I think, nuclear bomb casings or something like that. So the stuff's really solid steel. I'll get you just to pause for 1 second here, buddy, while I get a drink.
Yep.
We on?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so anyways, this one here, really fantastic steel in it. If you go on YouTube, I think there's a guy who does destruction tests, they're called, and he puts these things through just a ton of abuse and stuff like that, and there's basically nothing you can do to destroy these knives. They're amazing for that reason. You could probably hand them down for generations in the family. Also, I find the rust or corrosion on this type of steel is really good. I've had no issues. Now, most of this is powder coated to protect the blade, but along the actual blade edge here, I've had no issues over the years with any rust spots or anything like that. So really good corrosion resistance on this steel as well. It's got G10 handles, and this one was done in Desert Sandstorm is what it's called, if you want to zoom in there and take a close look at that for people, Leo. Sorry if the lighting isn't very good right now, guys. Anyways, the fit and finish as well is amazing on this. The way that they kind of grounded that off and rounded the handles and stuff. Really beautiful job on the fit and finish. It comes with a fairly pretty scary pommel here on the back that comes to an edge there and another rounded piece there. And it gives you 2 holes in here for a lanyard to come off. Your lanyard, of course, is that you can, wrap it around your wrist for wrist retention. I typically don't use a lanyard. I have them on a lot of my knives really just because I like hanging them on the wall as showpieces and displays. So that's usually why I have the lanyard hanging off the back there. But anyway, so really nice pommel on the back. It's got a guard here for your fingers on the front and also to keep your hand from coming forward on it. So that's really nice. It's a full tang construction. So full tang again just means that the steel that's in the blade comes all the way to the back of the blade, which makes your knife a lot stronger than ones that are stick tang and stuff like that. So really nice like durability on this blade. And the only thing though that I would say about it is that it's too large really to be much of a practical blade, and it's really heavy. So as a chopper, the heavier your blade is, typically the better it's going to do. And this here thing would be a beast in the woods, chopping limbs and going through small diameter wood. You could do a lot of work with this here knife, but it's whether or not you want to handle or carry around something this large. So to put it in perspective, I put another knife here on my belt today. This here is the Busse Basic 7, which is a really well-known survival knife, I guess, or woods knife. And that's what a full-size woods knife looks like on your belt, which is already pretty darn large. This would have a 7-inch blade on it, and I'll show you the size comparison here in a minute. But by comparison, if you look at the sheaths that I have for the Gurkha Kukri Plus, if you had that on your belt, how big of a blade you've got hanging there. And for this one here, I had a custom leather sheath made, and you can see just how big that blade would be hanging off your waist. So I find these are a little bit much. Now this here again is this is what a person would normally carry in the woods if they're into survival knives. This would be a full-size survival knife that allows you to baton down through wood. We've talked about that before, where you can hit a piece of wood in the top and then take another piece and drive it down through. It's also small enough that you can do some finer tasks, some whittling and things like that with it. So this here would be an all-around really good woods knife. And if you look at the size comparison to...
Oh, are we watching a size comparison video? What are we doing
Busse,
here? Okay.
And you can see the difference in scale here of the Busse Nuclear Meltdown compared to the Busse Basic 7. So this gets
size comparison
a little bit... Yeah, and I mean, this gets a little bit ridiculous is what it comes down to. And the other issue with that is that you carry a knife, when you're out hiking or something, you want something that's light enough to carry along with your other gear.
In our size comparison, we're going past the observable universe.
Leo watches all kind of size comparisons about the universe there on YouTube. So here's Leo's axe here, or hatchet, by size comparison to the Busse. And this hatchet is actually lighter weight than this knife. And my thought on it is that really this is the more practical tool. You're going to do more practical work in the woods, either limbing trees or
the top one's bigger. It's like the nebula, like a nebula.
Yeah, well, it's not too many light years across.
Not too many light years across.
So anyway, if I was gonna make a choice to carry something, I don't think I'm gonna choose to carry a $1,200 knife in the woods to beat up on limbs. And given again that it's larger and heavier than the hatchet, and the hatchet would be the more practical tool to be out there with in the first place, right? If I want to split,
it would be the more bigger tool, 500 light years across.
Right. So I'm gonna say, like, the practicality of carrying this, given that you can carry a nice little hatchet in the woods, that's what I find the problem with this blade is that it doesn't really fit much of a niche in terms of a practical tool. Again, you'd be better off, really, you could carry both of these tools for the same amount of weight as what that Busse knife would take, and then you'd have a really nice combination in the woods, right? Lastly, then, I'm going to show you guys this. This is the Cold Steel Gurkha Kukri Plus. Fantastic blade. Now you're getting into more of like medieval self-defense kind of blades.
Hello.
And this is also like, it's a 1/4 inch thick. It's a good blade for in the woods. The Kukri knives have a really, really good deep cut on them because of that sloped design, and it puts the meat of the blade and the weight up here. When you go and hack into something with this is a really, really good cutter, and it's far more agile to move in your hand than what the Busse knife is, and it's a lot lighter still.
The size is getting bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm zooming in more.
So there's those two size comparison. And again, the
weight is universe and the multiverse.
So I would say, I would go honestly with the Gurkha Kukri Plus. Now this one is in 01 high carbon steel, so the steel is respectable steel, probably not as high a grade as the Infi steel, but you still get a very good steel in this. And I mean, again, what are you going to use this for? If you want to use it for a knife, a woods knife, it'll do everything, but it's also a far more agile blade to use for, some kind of crazy self-defense. So anyways, that's my thoughts on the Busse Combat Nuclear Meltdown Fusion Battle Mistress.
That sounds like a bunch of junk. Like, that sounds like a bunch of blah blah. Like a cartoon would say, a fusion, what?
It sounds a bit cartoonish. Yeah. It's a bit of a crazy handle that they put on this, or name that they put on this knife. Anyways, beautiful, beautiful blade. If you want a knife that'll last you, hundreds of years in your family and will survive, through any kind of abuse, highly recommend it. But in terms of what I look at for tools and where it fits in terms of a practical purpose within my range of tools, I don't really have much of a practical purpose for it. So that's why I think ultimately I'm going to part with this, I think, and sell it.
Yep, guys. Also, we got the 200 subscribers. Thank you.
Yes, awesome. Thank you for bringing that up, Leo. And thank you, everybody, for supporting the channel. We
Yes.
finally crossed a tough
Yes.
threshold we had of 200 subscribers. Hopefully, we're on our way to 200,000 and eventually our
What?
million goal.
200,000? Who said that? Who said that?
All right, so I think that's everything I had to say about it today, guys. We'll come back and actually review the Cold Steel one and some other ones as we work through our collection, but that is a look at the very beautiful and high-end Busse Nuclear Meltdown Fusion Battle Mistress. Take
Yes.
care, guys. Cheers.
Yes. Look at them. The zebras. Those are zebras over there. Bye.